Do you lose weight on Ozempic because you eat less? There are many benefits to Ozempic outside of appetite suppression or eating less. While eating less is an important part of weight loss, there's some nuances that you'll want to consider. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how Ozempic works for weight loss and give you the clarity you're looking for. Okay, how many of you have ever noticed that your brain can tell you you're hungry even though you just ate? How many of you may notice in the afternoon you have this energy drop and you just need some either coffee or a Red Bull or whatever it is to pick you up. And maybe you're somebody like my client Claire, who came in because she said, if I don't have a nap in the afternoon, I am useless. With Ozempic, yes, it does cause what's called appetite suppression. You're not as hungry. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that you eat a full meal and then you need something sweet. And you just wonder, like, why is that hunger always there? Our brains are hardwired to look for energy. That was part of the survival that got our ancestors through the hunters and gatherers times into the agricultural era. And so it's actually a really natural pattern in the brain. But what tells our body when it's not hungry is a peptide called GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide 1. And a GLP-1 is naturally occurring, but the problem is when we eat all the time, our brain and our stomach isn't connected. So I don't know if that's like you, where you ever feel like, man, I just feel like my brain is doing one thing and my body's doing something completely different. This was my patient Claire's experience. She came in because she said, man, I cannot stabilize my blood sugar. She said, I've been doing berberine, I've been doing time-restricted eating, I've eaten protein only, I eat keto, and these diets work temporarily, but it feels like I'm always hungry. And she said, I've been watching my macros, I've been cutting my calories, and I still can't lose weight. And many of you, you're wondering, well, I'm on Ozempic, so won't I be losing weight anyways because I eat less? Well, here's the nuance to it, is we see patients like Claire who was on a 1,500 calorie diet. She weighed approximately 160 pounds, and she wasn't losing weight. And so it's not always calories in, calories out. But what we realized is the reason why she wasn't losing weight was twofold. Number one, her insulin was not getting into the cells. So the receptor sites on the cells that allow insulin to dock and then you can take sugar into the cell, those receptors were fatigued because she was eating all the time. She always had sugar cravings, so she'd go eat something sweet. At night, right before bed, is when she would become like a ravenous beast, and so she would just devour anything in the pantry. And it turned off the signaling. And so she became what's called leptin resistant. And so when you're leptin resistant, you're not expressing that GLP-1 peptide, and so your brain doesn't really know when you're full. So as we went through Claire's labs, we said, well, first thing we need to do is figure out, okay, number one, are you insulin resistant? And so we looked at her glucose levels, her hemoglobin A1C, we looked at insulin fasting, and we looked at this protein called C-peptide, just so that we could get a good perspective on what was really going on metabolically. Sure enough, she did have some insulin sensitivity or metabolic disease. Her anion gap, which shows the levels of acidity in your blood and how well you have nutrient sensing, her nutrient sensing was gone. It's almost like driving your car at night with no lights on. It's like you're lucky to get where you're going because there's other cars with their lights on, but it's not a safe way to go. And that was what was going on with her metabolic system. So if you are thinking that Ozempic, the only thing it does is cause you to eat less and that's why you lose weight, well, number one is if a metabolic disease is the reason you're not losing weight, what happens when you have more GLP-1 activity in your brain is you actually get more insulin sensitivity. So it's actually one of the best things that you can do to fix that metabolic dysfunction is by taking Ozempic or a GLP-1. And so that's what I explained to Claire. I said, peptides may be good for you, either semaglutide or tirzepatide or retatrutide. And what she ended up going with was the tirzepatide. And she found that it completely transformed her relationship to food. So it's not just about appetite suppression. However, that's part of it because yes, if you do want to lose weight, you do need to cut back on calories for the most part. The second thing that you want to look at is your thyroid function, because the thyroid hormone is what activates the metabolic pathways in your body. And so your thyroid hormone is, every single cell is responsive to the thyroid hormone, and the metabolic engine gets turned on. It's like the key that goes into the ignition, and you're getting ready to fire up your car and you need some thyroid hormone. If you don't have the thyroid hormone, you're going to go in and you're going to push on the gas and it's going to sputter. It's like I used to have this old car. It was this old Sprint, this little 3-cylinder car in Idaho. We used to jump the railroad tracks with it, and we beat that car up. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, if you watch this, but we had a great time. The thing about it is, over time, after about 100,000 miles, the exhaust was really blue and it just was stinky and you could barely ride in it. And that's what happens to our cells when we have metabolic disease and when you don't have good thyroid hormone to actually get the fuel into the engine. It starts burning too rich, and then the car, it just didn't go as well. We could barely get it to go fast enough to jump the railroad tracks, and we'd pull the emergency brake and we'd just spin out all over. It was a great time, but that is an image of what happens to our metabolism. Our metabolism becomes a dumpster fire based on the processed foods that we're eating, based on the fact that we have access to food 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, yes, it is partially, it's the food that you're not consuming, the caloric deficit will cause you to lose weight, but there's other mechanisms. So one thing is, yes, you're going to get better insulin sensitivity, which sends a signal to your thyroid that metabolically everything's okay. Because sometimes when you're hungry all the time, your brain thinks you're starving. Even if you know you're not. You're like, I just ate a huge meal. Why am I hungry again? It's because metabolically things are broken. And so this is where having a very strict schedule of what to eat when. This is why gut testing is so important. This is also why looking at food sensitivities is really helpful, because the other thing that Ozempic does is it causes a delay in gastric emptying. So what you'll find is you eat food and it sits in your stomach longer. And this is where they've looked at Ozempic versus some of the gastric bypass surgeries or the lap bands. And they're finding that this is a miraculous medication. It's a miraculous treatment because it performs almost as good as having a full-blown surgery. And so based on that, when you have a delay in gastric emptying, you're going to be full longer. And for those of you who have an ADHD brain where it's going all over the place all the time, when you slow down digestion, you notice your brain's clear. You can focus for longer. And so this is where we use it with clients who don't even want to lose weight. Actually, we use it in clients who want to gain muscle and not gain fat, because it changes that metabolic expression and it slows down digestion enough to where you can absorb nutrients. Because if you think about, if you're just consuming all the time and you don't give yourself a chance to digest things and digest your food, that's going to be problematic. And so one of the things that we've discovered is that Ozempic, yes, it puts you in a caloric deficit because you don't have those cravings, you're not needing snacks all the time, but the most important thing it does is it repairs that metabolic function. And I see a lot of people who are very fit, they're very athletic, but they push themselves too hard and they end up with high hemoglobin A1C, high insulin levels, and high C-peptide, and metabolically, they're like, why would I get on a GLP-1? Why would I take something like Ozempic? I don't want to lose weight. Well, the real mechanism is we're trying to fix that metabolic function. We want to fix that metabolic disease so that your body can actually burn fuel efficiently, unless you want to end up like the Sprint and have really nasty exhaust. Okay, so if that's you and you have this exhaust that's sputtering, make sure to keep this video a secret. Like, don't subscribe and don't tell other people about this, because you just need to get really lean and fit yourself. And so we'll help you get there, but you may want to watch my next video on the best ways of utilizing Ozempic so that you can lose weight, be fit, build your brain and your muscles for good. I'll see you there.